Today's Locked On Nationals, I have Tobi Altizer from 106.7 The Fan joining us today, and we're going to discuss some of the guys who have gotten away who should still be Washington Nationals. But we're first going to take a look at this pitching rotation and what the hell will happen without Cade Cavalli. We're going to get into all of that and more after this.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Ryan Clary, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in to the Locked On Network, where you get your team every single day. And that is exactly what we'll be doing for the show. We're going to be talking all things Nationals with my guy, Tobi Altizer from 106.7 The Fan. We bring him in now and say, Tobi, how are you?
Doing good, Ryan. It's good to talk Nats baseball as we get closer and closer to opening day. The World Baseball Classic has been fun, so it's fun to see baseball back on television.
Exactly. And, you know, when I think of that, just watching the World Baseball Classic is just like, damn, man. Like, it just feels good to actually be watching sincere competitive games. And honestly, you brought up something to where I want to get your thoughts on, because you're big into the World Baseball Classic. If you're watching over on YouTube, Tobi is repping the Team USA jersey. And let me ask, who is it?
Trea Turner, of course.
Trea Turner, of course. We're going to talk about Trea Turner in a little bit. But you know about this argument now, because we've seen Edwin Diaz and Jose Altuve go down with some pretty serious injuries. What are your thoughts on star players playing in the World Baseball Classic? Should they not? Let me hear what you think.
This is another classic argument where it doesn't benefit the owners to have the players play in the World Baseball Classic. But if the players want to play, let them play. They understand that there's injury risk. There's also injury risk when you step into the box in spring training and there's some 20-year-old that has never pitched in the big leagues throwing 95. You could get hit on the hand and break your thumb there like Altuve did. You know, Edwin Diaz hurt himself celebrating. It's simple stuff like that. Unfortunately, you know, these guys are going to miss extended time. But at the same point, I don't think this whole argument that the WBC shouldn't occur and these injuries are going to be the demise of it. Look at how much fun these guys are having. Look at even the guys on Team USA. I'm not even going to get into the other countries because it's pretty obvious that the excitement that these guys have to root for their own country, play for their own country. But even just look at the USA guys. Wainwright's out there. He's pitched in big, big games, and he's saying he's having the time of his life out there. Mike Trout is saying, I love this thing. I think it was Arenado saying there's no reason the Stars shouldn't play in this. They love it. And you know what? It's usually in spring training, you're kind of ramping up, and then finally it culminates in opening day, and then you kick off the rest of the season. I don't see how this isn't, you know, a little bit of a kickstart for some of these guys. Obviously, they're maybe not fully ready to go yet, but they're playing meaningful baseball before opening day. They're going to be probably in a little bit better form just because of the fact that they are playing meaningful baseball right away. Maybe they're not going to get the reps that they would in spring training, but I think the WBC is awesome. I've never been one that's gotten into it like I have this year, but it's a fun thing to do, and I have no reason to think that these stars shouldn't be allowed to play.
Yeah, you know what? You bring up some good points. My conception with this is that I would not allow star pitchers to play if I was a GM. If I was GM, I would not allow my star pitchers to play if they were just signed to a huge contract. Like, for example, Edwin Diaz, I wouldn't have wanted him to play because I think it means a lot for that ramp up period in March for pitchers to get ready, to get their arms loose. But then again, that's just me. As far as position players go, you nailed it right in the head. Position players, there is no reason for you not to play in this tournament. In fact, it is a way better jump start than spring training and getting at-bats in the cages and down against, you know, 19-year-old former sixth-round picks.
That's the thing. Trea Turner even talked about it. He's obviously had a heck of a tournament. And he said, you know, I'm kind of searching for my swing. And next thing you know, he's had 3 home runs in 2 games. So I think he found something, and hopefully he can carry – well, obviously with the Phillies, hopefully he doesn't, but
Yeah.
hopefully he feels like he can carry that over into the regular season.
Yeah, I as you said, I am certainly not rooting for Trea Turner to do so hot this year. It still stings to see, but hey, we're going to talk about that in a little bit later. But obviously, I want to get your reaction on Cade Cavalli and his injury front. If people aren't aware of it yet, Cade Cavalli will be out for the 2023 season with Tommy John surgery. He's got a torn UCL, and it's very unfortunate. But here's the thing I really want to get your thoughts on, Toby. So Davey Martinez has already kind of announced that Chad Kuhl, 30-year-old, pitched with the Rockies last year, had about a 5.8 ERA in 27 starts. He's going to be the starter to replace Cade Cavalli. What are your thoughts on that with a rebuilding team going with a 30-year-old?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it, but at the same point, you do have to have someone in there that's going to give experience inside the rotation to help out some of the young guys. And also, we talked about this last time I was on here. At some point, you got to get through innings too. And so, I'd love to have all the young guys up, but if they're not fully ready, let's not rush them at the same point. So, I'm not a huge fan of it. I wish there were maybe someone that you could throw in there. But if Davey thinks that this is the right move at the right time. Obviously, they were planning on having Cavalli playing a big role in this season just to kind of see what he could be and help develop him. And that's gone. And it's really, abrupt. It wasn't something that you knew was going to happen. And so, maybe this is just a stopgap thing until they can really figure things out, maybe, a little bit into the season. But I'm not a huge fan of it. But at the same point, you got to have people in the rotation. And if he's just going to be a placeholder, then I guess that's okay.
Here's my thing with it, because I'll put it out this way. I'm not happy about this Chad Kuhl decision, but as you said, someone's got to eat up innings. Someone has you, and you also have to be a competitive major league pitcher, which the Nationals don't have a plethora of those, you could say, in their system currently. A lot of them are still going to be progressing and developing down in the minor leagues, but also for a rebuilding team, I think it's a little wasteful to me when I think you do have people inside your organization like a Thaddeus Ward, who you got in the #1 overall pick in the Rule 5 draft just this past winter. I think someone like him, I know he's coming off Tommy John surgery in 2021, but then again, this was someone who started 13 games down in the minor leagues last year. The Red Sox had him developing as a major league starter, and that was the plan for him going forward. So I feel like the Nationals should be giving opportunities to guys like that to actually prove themselves and to have them come up, and who knows what they do, because they plan for Thaddeus Ward to be some relief pitcher. And honestly, you could try him as a starter and see how it goes, just because he's had all this experience down in the minor leagues, starting and preparing to ramp back up and to be a starter in the major leagues. But they don't really seem to be using him that way, which is a little frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. But at the same point, you have to, maybe we'll reevaluate this and, towards the end of May, beginning of June, and see where the season has gone. At this point, I'm fine with going with Kuhl if they don't feel like Ward's fully ready yet, or they don't want to increase his innings load, whatever the case may be. I'm fine with it in that case, because you do have to have 5 starters. You do have to have guys that can go out there and eat innings. Like, you can't be taxing the bullpen every time so-and-so gets on the mound. So it's not ideal, but at the time being, I'm fine with it. But if it comes June, July, and you're rolling out there and you're still just rolling with Chad Kuhl, I'm not cool with it.
Yeah, I'm not cool with it either, Toby. That's actually great. But like, looking at this rotation right now with the addition of Chad Kuhl, you're looking at Patrick Corbin, Josiah Gray, Trevor Williams, Mackenzie Gore, and then Chad Kuhl, I believe, which is the 5th guy in that rotation if haven't already named him. Here's what I think, though, because when the Nationals signed Trevor Williams in the offseason, their full-on intention is for him to be a starting pitcher. Well, looking at the numbers and what they say, Trevor Williams is not an above-average starting pitcher. In fact, he's a below-average starting pitcher, and that has just been proven from what we have seen. But here's what he is great at. He is great at coming in and eating up innings as kind of like that middle relief guy in a blowout situation to where maybe the starting pitcher gets blown out. Well, here comes Trevor Williams to be the fire extinguisher, to actually hose it all down and to clear it all up. I've thought about this. Patrick Corbin as an opener, go out there, have him see the order for about one time. If you give him a second time through the order, then that's when the home runs could start coming into play. But then here's when you get Trevor Williams, a right-handed pitcher to go along with that southpaw with Patrick Corbin. That's what I see as an actual valuable duo someday, to where will it actually happen? Probably not, especially with this injury to Cavalli. But man, would I want to see that, because I'm just a believer to playing players to their strengths, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Nationals will be doing that with Trevor Williams, throwing him out there every 5 days.
I'd be totally on board with that if there wasn't a pitcher limit on the 26-man roster. But since they've implemented that, I don't know that you have enough guys to basically throw 2 as your 5-inning starter every single. So, I'd be totally down with that. I'm fine with that idea if you're trying to win baseball games. But to be honest with you, with the Nationals this season, I'm not going to look at the wins and losses probably until June or July and just laugh at whatever the numbers are there. I don't care about wins and losses. I need these guys to be able to eat some innings. I mean, you want to still be fair to the other guys on the roster. But at the same point, I think anyone that is in DC right now playing in this organization understands they're not competing for much than trying not to get dead last in Major League Baseball.
You bring up a good point. But, Toby, do you remember the days when the Nationals were into that thing called winning? Do you remember that?
It seems like it's been forever ago, but it really wasn't that long ago.
It really wasn't that long ago. There was a whole ass pandemic in between that, which sucks to think about. But, hey, I need to talk to you about that, because with the World Baseball Classic, we've been seeing some former Nationals going off, and it's starting to bring back some old emotions that I've had with those old key members of the Nationals. But Toby and I are going to talk about that and ultimately answer the question of who was the former National that got away. We'll answer that. But before we do that, I got to tell you guys about my friends over at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business, and you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs help find the right people for your team faster and for free. Here's what I know. I have applied through every job that I have ever gotten through LinkedIn. It makes it more accessible, easier, and just an overall better experience than any other site out there to get noticed, and also for a small business to find their own employees. It's that easy, guys. LinkedIn Jobs help you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. And now, Toby, we get into some of the Nationals that got away, because as you said, Trea Turner has been lighting up the World Baseball Classic. He'll be playing in the championship game tonight, and unfortunately, we'll be seeing him probably balling out again. But here's my thing about this, Toby. We've seen a lot of former Nationals walk through that door and have success elsewhere. For you, who is the former Washington National star that got away?
Yeah, I mean, for me, my favorite player, I don't know as media members if we're supposed to say this.
You can
I don't
say
care.
it. It's fine.
I don't really care, even if I'm not supposed to. Trea Turner is my favorite player. And so seeing him, we knew that Scherzer was probably going to get moved at that deadline. We knew that that was probably going to happen. And then to see, oh, wait, it's not just Max. It's also Trea in a deal. And it was so tough to process, because it was like, you know what? Trea's going to still be on this baseball team. You'll still have Soto. So at least you have those guys. And then to see Trea just gone like that, it's so tough. And for me, I don't mind the Dodgers. I know a lot of people hate the Dodgers, but just from time I've spent watching the Dodgers late at night doing college schoolwork or whatever, I don't mind the Dodgers. So I didn't mind seeing him in LA. But seeing him in Phillies pinstripes this year is going to be so difficult. Like,
disgusting.
Watching him ball out for Team USA has been phenomenal. And it's really cool to see people realize, look, this dude is the best shortstop in baseball. This dude is everything that he, got paid and more. And getting to be able to recognize that on a national scale is awesome. But then remembering, like, this dude should still be in DC. It's just really tough to cope with.
Yeah, and it's like kind of putting it in this perspective. Like, imagine you had that girlfriend that you loved back in the day, and it's like you felt like you guys had that connection. Like, you both wanted to get married, but it ultimately didn't work out, and you guys split up in some bad ways, you could say. And then now you're seeing that girlfriend go on, get engaged, get that 10-year membership, and having fun with another organization. And it hasn't even started yet, but seeing him with Team USA, seeing the Phillies post all this content about Captain America, Trea Turner, it sucks. But I have a lopsided answer to this question. It's not really lopsided. I think Trea Turner is an interesting answer considering when you have Juan Soto or Bryce Harper. So, but I get your point. I get your point with Trea Turner being that, this was there was an opportunity to extend Trea Turner back after 2019, and the Nationals supposedly offered him a very low offer that he obviously did not accept, which he shouldn't have. I don't really remember the terms on those deals. I never know if they got confirmed publicly, but whatever they did, the Nationals messed that up.
Yeah, and with the other guys like Harp and Soto, like, you listen to the interview that Harper did and kind of explaining he kind of wanted to come back. So I don't have any ill feelings toward him. I don't have really any ill feelings toward any of the guys leaving. But for me, just as a personal huge fan of Trea Turner, seeing him in another uniform is tough. I mean, obviously the tough one, you can't get over Bryce Harper. Seeing him in a Phillies uniform still stings, and seeing him ball out in the postseason still stings. But it's going to sting with all these guys. But for me personally, Trea Turner is the one that stings the most.
Now, I will say, I shouldn't hate Bryce Harper, and I don't hate him. I think hate's a strong word, but big but here. I'm out.
See, after about half a season of like, screw this dude, I'm fine with it. And then on top of that, to go ahead and win the World Series in 2019, and that dude wasn't a part of the team, it's like, you know what? I can't have ill feelings toward this guy. We won a World Series.
Well, Toby, you're missing. I've never said I'm mature. I'm very immature. I will say that right now. I don't like Bryce Harper for really, really stupid, petty reasons, and I'll fully admit that. It's not for the fact that, no. I was going to say that it's not for him choosing the Phillies, but in fact, it is. For why? I don't like Philadelphia. I don't like this. I'll tell you this, Toby. I've shared this story a couple times on Locked On Nationals here. Back in 2009, I believe, opening day, the Phillies were in town. Little 10-year-old Ryan Clary in there, sitting with his mom and his older brother, just by about a year and a half, 10 years old. We were sitting up in right field in the scoreboard terrace there, the Bud Light loft, I believe that's what it was called back then. All of a sudden, a huge, and I mean a swarm of people start brawling. And your boy, me, Ryan Clary, is sitting there by himself getting swarmed by a bunch of Phillies fans. That was the day that I was like, you know what? I hate this team. I will never root for you. I will never root for your fans. And that was all I needed to know about them. And little did I know that Philadelphia sports fans are terrible. They are the bear of my existence. The worst. I hate them. So to see Bryce Harper go there and to be at the game to where he hits that double, he bows to the crowd in right field in that Philly fan section for that very first game, I was out. And I was like, you know what? I will boo him. I'm sorry, but he is not for me anymore. He joined the dark side. I'm still on the light side.
Yeah, I'm with you on everything that you said about the Phillies, but I don't mind the guys anymore. It's fine.
And you're right. But to answer my own question, for me, it was Juan Soto, just because of the generational talent that he was. Seeing someone like him walk through the doors, getting traded away, that was the tough one, because after all the stars leaving, it was like okay, but we have Juan Soto. We can extend this guy. This is someone who has won a World Series here. He's been developed in the organization. We're the ones who have put all the resources into extending him, and we trade him. But at the end of the day, I like that trade personally. It was something that we needed to do as an organization. We needed to hit that reset button. But as you said, Trea Turner was one that we could have certainly re-signed, and that was a tough day to see him added in that Max Scherzer trade deal.
Yeah, I mean, and the part of it too is just going to be what happens with these trades. You know, it might end up 3 years from now if these guys don't pan out from the Padres that you're sitting here looking at. Soto could have still been here. We could have found a way to keep this guy. And the guys that we got didn't turn out to be anything. You know, that maybe that's going to be the case. I'm hoping not, because you look at the trade package and all these guys are top level prospects and you would expect at least a couple of them to pan out. But who knows?
Yeah. And you know what? Since you just mentioned some of those prospects, we kind of went down this little rabbit hole of players that we wish that could come back. And obviously Juan Soto, I'm sure, was probably at number 2 for you in that list behind Trea Turner, right?
Yeah.
So who do you like out of that Juan Soto trade package deal watching this year? Like, who's that player that you're going to be like, I can't wait to see X?
For my first reaction when I saw the deal, I didn't know a whole lot about James Wood. I knew a little bit about Hassel. I obviously know Abrams, but the guy that I was so excited to see got added. And when I saw the Hader deal the day before, you know, just a little bit of a track record of me. I was working in Milwaukee at the time. So yeah. I was on air when Hader got traded. And as soon as I saw what they gave up, I said, oh, they're getting Soto because they didn't trade any of their top guys. And so I was looking, I was like, all right, let's see which of these guys are going to end up going to the Nationals. When I saw Mackenzie Gore got added to the deal, I was as excited as could be. You know, obviously you're tempering expectations and you're a little bit disappointed that Juan Soto is no longer on the team, but you're getting the former top pitching prospect in all of baseball. And you think about the rotation of possibilities going forward where you're adding in Cavalli, which hopefully everything goes well with that Tommy John and we get to fully see that next season. And hopefully Josiah Gray can be a middle to back end of the rotation type guy. And you got Gore, you got Cavalli, you got Gray, you've got your catcher of the future locked up, which I'm glad they got that deal done. So up the middle in a battery right there, you've got 3 starters that hopefully can turn out to be future guys that are just locked into that rotation. And you got your catcher set up. And then the rest of the guys around it is going to be awesome, hopefully, if they can all pan out. But the guy that really got me excited when they added in Mackenzie Gore, I'm like, all right, got a lefty you can add to that rotation. I think that's the guy out of that trade I'm most excited to see.
No, that's a great point. Like, Mackenzie Gore's got a ton of upside, and, you know, we only have a certain amount of time on this podcast, but I've gone in a ton of deep dives, and I'll actually get your reaction real quick to this because I do want to hear it. You're a smart baseball mind. I think Mackenzie Gore will even be our ace of the staff this year. That's how high I am on him.
I don't think he'll start there, but I think he could get there. I definitely think he could get there.
I won't think he'll start there either, but he's got and plus, this staff is not like, you know,
no, I mean, it's not like
Braves.
Yeah, it's not like he's passing up Scherzer and Strasburg, all those guys. But I mean, he's got swag. He's wearing number 1. He's a lefty. What's there not to like?
I know, and I love it. I love the swagger part of it too. But Toby, I do want to get your thoughts on this World Baseball Classic. If you're not watching over on YouTube, he's decked out in Team USA gear. I'm jealous because I wanted a Trea Turner jersey. Toby and I work at the same place. He got that Trea Turner jersey, so I feel like I'd be a follower, but we got to talk about the World Baseball Classic. The championships tonight, and the U.S. is in it. We're going to talk about that, but before that, I'm going to tell you guys about my friends over at Built Bar, and the Built March Madness bracket is here. We know you have a favorite bar or puff, and now is your time to make it count. Go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. And you know, I'll be voting for the cookies and cream bar puff. And it is simple, guys. It's the best flavor out there in the game. And when you do that, and if you want the Nationals to win, then you'll be voting for that bar too. Support your team and support your bar or puff. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you'll be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. Not only that, but Locked On fan will win a 12-month subscription of Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. You got to try Built. Built is the best protein bar ever. Seriously, they're amazing, and you won't even think they're good for you guys. It's low in sugar, it's low on carbs, it's low on all the bad stuff that is not in there. So run to builtmarchmadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop on and support your pick. And now to get back into it with Tobi Altizer from 106.7 The Fan. Obviously, the U.S. is in the World Baseball Classic Championship game tonight. Tobi, besides Trea Turner, we know that we've all enjoyed watching it. It's been a really fun tournament to watch so far. But what has been your highlight so far, minus all the Trea Turner home runs?
I mean, it's kind of hard to take that out when Trea Turner's been absolutely tearing it up.
Yeah, I know.
Honestly, it's just seeing the guys throw on a uniform that says USA on it. Seeing a guy like Mike Trout playing meaningful baseball. Seeing Nolan Arenado on the same team. Mookie Betts, Trea Turner. It's so cool seeing all of these guys on the same team. It's funny because the hitting staff is so stacked. And then the pitchers, it's like, what? How's this guy on Team USA? Like, it doesn't fit the same as the hitting staff. But at the same point, it's just cool to see the guys playing out there and see them representing USA. I don't know if it means as much to everyone else, the Olympics and different things with Team USA. I know some people aren't as into that. But for me, like just seeing USA in those sort of instances just gives you a patriotic vibe. And I love that so much. So seeing all these guys so excited to represent the United States, it's awesome.
You brought up something. Seeing Mike Trout playing in competitive baseball is not something that we have been able to see. Mike Trout is probably the best player that we have ever seen this game, unless you think it's Barry Bonds. I think it's Barry Bonds, but Mike Trout is certainly up there in that conversation for some of the better players that we have ever seen across the board. So to actually see him play in a championship environment is fun, as you said. But here's also the thing about it. The pitching has been atrocious so far 100%. For Team USA. I mean, it has been tough watching Adam Wainwright go out there and throw 72-mile-per-hour fastballs. I mean, it has been a tough show for it so far. But, I would love to see someone like Garrett Cole compete in it down the line or name that American starter that isn't in it this year. We need to get more pitching.
I think you brought up a good point, though, earlier, talking about hitters. It's awesome. You're just walking, you're stepping in the box. Pitchers at this point, spring training, and you're throwing high leverage innings that maybe you're throwing a little more than what your regular pitch count would be at this point in the season, just depending upon how things go. I get that. You don't want to risk it, but at the same point, it's awesome to see these guys competing for Team USA. And one other note, I will say, I'm not a fan of the pitch clock. I'm not. But these World Baseball Classic games take forever. So, if there's any example, hey, this is why we're doing it, turn on a World Baseball Classic game. You're stuck there for 4.5 hours minimum.
Tobi, you know what? Because my stance on it as well. I've shared it on this said podcast. I was not a fan of the pitch clock. As soon as I saw Game 1 of the World Baseball Classic, I was like, and now I remember why they did need that pitch clock. Maybe it's just that we have gotten adjusted to it this quickly to where it's like, God, that game is slow, man. How did I sit through this? And now it's a lot quicker. So I will say, I admitted it. I was wrong about the pitch clock. I'm
not willing to go there yet.
I am. I'm weak.
I'm not willing to go there yet because this is playoff baseball for the World Baseball Classic, and everyone knows that playoff baseball needs to get sped up. We all knew that.
Yes.
I can't be sitting here watching a World Series game drag on for 4.5 hours. But a regular season game in the middle of June, I don't mind it going 3 hours and 15 minutes.
I don't either. And that's where you and I agree with. Not a lot of baseball fans agree with that for some reason, but that's another conversation for another day. But thank you for making Locked On Nationals your first listen. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every day as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball wherever you get your pods and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network where you get your team every day. All right, Tobi, it's been a fun show. As always, when we get you on, tell us where the people can find you, where they can hear you. Let us know.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Tobi, Tobi_Altizer. I know Rick Doc Walker likes to make fun of people with underscores in their Twitter handle, but that's staying. Tobi_Altizer. You can hear me whenever. I don't know what my schedule is, but sometimes on 106.7 The Fan, and you can hear me occasionally here on Locked On Nationals. And go Team USA.
Go Team USA. They're in the championship tonight, and we can't wait for it. So you guys have a good day, and go now.